that I think is going to take place this year. What are your predictions for sports cards in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a comment with your top prediction for sports cards in 2022. And
well, listen, Jeff, I think it's a great idea. I watched your video a few times, and I actually have some comments on your predictions and what I think will happen if I kind of were to look into my little globe. And I will say, I was pretty accurate about last year's predictions. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe. You're going to get a lot of great content here on my channel. Let me start with a few of the comments that were made, some of the predictions. I'll go over each of Jeff's prediction and kind of give you where I stand on it. First one, he talks about stability in the marketplace. He talks about in 2021, we had a big spike in February. Sports cards were on the rise, which was the second spike in the last 2 years, by the way. Second of two spikes in the last, 24 months. And then it declined, and it's been declining since then. Back in the spring, and I said even before the spring, that there would be a correction, a changing in the market. I predicted a lot of things in the new year that would affect that, and I was kind of spot on. So one thing I'll say, stability, yes, the market will be stable because there's not going to have any spikes. There's not going to be huge spikes in the general market. Some cards, some things will happen. There'll be anomalies to that, but in general, the overall market will continue in a correcting decline, if not maybe flatten, but you're not going to see any spikes. Now, is this good or bad? Jeff will say it's good for you. I think this just kind of validates again that, sports cards are more like Beanie Babies than they are investments. And you probably think about that as far as, is this an investment or not? Second thing he talks about is short-term performance will be more influenced by player performance, or cards will be able to move and you'll make money in that. I'm going to disagree with that. I do realize, like last year in baseball and in football, a player could do really well and didn't really impact their performance as much as it did in the past. And that's because it shouldn't. I mean, really, we're speculating here. And one night, one weekend, one season really shouldn't impact the player that much when you think about what we're in today in modern sports, okay? We have overprinting, right? We have lack of quality. There's less autos, less relics. Players' careers are shorter. Every year there's a flashy guy, our attention's like a gnat. So this guy's the hottest thing in the world. This guy's the hottest thing in the world. But in reality, when we step back, we realize that there's a hottest guy in the world every year, right? So if we have a bigger perspective of this, we should realize that player performance shouldn't impact these things like it does. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's a reality. And you just watch that. You'll see some spikes, right? You'll see, and part of this could be even market manipulation. It's easier to manipulate some cards, but just watch for that. So I think short-term performance is going to stay flat on players. Base cards will continue to decline. This one I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on. It's absolutely true. And here's the thing. Not only will they decline, but there's a lot of people aren't going to stop keeping them. They're not going to stop collecting them. So in 20 years, when a few stop cropping out, don't forget that this decade was the second junk wax, in the sense that there's over minting, over printing, over creating. There's just too much of everything right now. So, in 20 years from now, if Zion becomes a Hall of Famer and like, oh, remember those Zion cards? Oh yeah. Well, don't go crazy, because it's kind of like there'll be a lot of them. Okay, keep that in mind. Also, I do like, he does talk about base decline, and he talks a low pop warning. I'm glad he mentions that, because a pop count is just one term people can be using. And with the changing and grading, and the fact that people only continue to pay attention to PSA, when there are so many other companies out there grading who also are sharing population information. You look at the big picture, stop saying pop count. Okay, really, just stop. Just stop doing it. Unless you have a cumulative population count, or it is a numbered card, just don't even say it. Even number cards, right? The pop count could be gold cards, or made to 10, but there's 100 of them, 100 variations. The gold shimmer on the right, the gold shimmer on the left, gold shimmer down the middle. Okay, soccer to increase. This is another goal prediction he makes. I'm going to disagree with this one. Okay, look, we're going into 22, and here's the one thing I'll tell you. There's still a lack of collectors. You need to ultimately have collectors who are willing to pay that premium at the end of the transaction cycle, or else you're just passing the trash, right? You're passing the hot potato around, right? If you really think it's a stock, see, stocks eventually go up, right? Or they go bankrupt, but they continue up because you're actually owning a company that's going to be growing. Its revenues grow. A player's revenue doesn't grow, right? I mean, he can be a really good player, and he's likely going to drop off. Very, very few are going to speculate and become the next Messi's or whatever. And there's fewer collectors out there in the soccer world. What I mean by that, as an American, I buy and sell soccer cards, but I have no interest in holding or having soccer cards. I wouldn't even know what to do with them. And none of my friends are into soccer cards, and my kids are into soccer cards. Even as soccer popularity takes off, let's say the U.S. team goes to the World Cup. Would I start collecting soccer cards? No, I just still don't want to collect soccer cards. So that's not going to change. I don't think that, I think that's, people are, again, there's gonna be a lot of production too on soccer cards. Everybody knows, oh, World Cup, they're gonna be printing the hell out of this stuff. Don't forget there's gonna be overprinting. Trading cards will, gaming cards decline. I agree with this. Again, not just because they're being overgraded, there's overpopulation, but I think there'll be a lot more fraud in that market. And there's a lot more naive people, a lot of more parents who are doing Pokemon with their kids who could easily be defrauded, cheated, scammed, and that's going to be a problem. So I don't disagree. That market's going to be declined. I'd stay away from that. Here's an interesting one he mentions. Jeff mentions retail product availability. It's going to be able to find a box in your local Target and Walmart again. And he almost makes it sound like it's a good thing. He does say that you're not going to probably be able to find Prism brands and select brands like that. And I agree with that. But I want to point out, this is not a good thing, right? We should all be aware, like there's no better time right now than to put t-shirts to say, friends, don't let friends buy retail wax, because this stuff's going to be junk. It's going to be over minted, over shiny, overproduced, more than you've ever seen before. It's the wild, wild west right now. Before Fanatics, this whole transition, Panini, Fanatics, Topps, whatever the heck, man. And even if Fanatics had it all, they're going to overprint this stuff right now. So I wouldn't want to touch retail with a 5-foot pole. Fun if you see it and you enjoy it, that's great. Not against that. You're a collector, you're putting together a set. You probably will be able to get those products again. But just remember, over freaking printed. Don't forget that. And it's also overpriced now, right? The price already went up. It's $20 a box, now it's 35, or it's 10, it's now 15. It's gone up. That's going to be a pain in the ass too. So that's not a good thing in my opinion. In fact, it kind of disgusts me when you think about what we're basically saying is the impact that the hobby had with our gluttony. And I'm not going to say it was the flippers. It was just gluttony and greed is now going to impact the hobby for years. We're going to have that junk retail product for a while. I'd say 3 or 4 years when they stop making it all, and they realize they can't make money, it's sitting on the shelves and it's getting discounted. And if you do see discount in a few years, also another thing to think about, a lot of people are going to be stashing this stuff. So in 10 years, 15 years, when they start seeing people pull out retail boxes, those are crap. If you're going to stash anything, stash wax. I mean, hobby wax, by the way. Okay. What's this last one? Oh, he makes a bold prediction. Jeff makes a bold prediction that Fanatics is going to buy Topps and Fanatics wants to get in the game. I agree with that. I do. Even if Fanatics couldn't buy Topps, they would probably buy, well, I don't know if they'd buy Leaf, but you're right. I'll tell you this, I don't think they will go after Panini, and I don't think Panini wants to be bought. Panini would have to probably get sick money. They might sell some of their licenses or their IP, intellectual property, some of their brands. And I say this because Panini's a global company. They're well positioned. They've also got a smart company over there as far as lawyers. They own a lot of patents or trademarks or whatever. So they're in a good position. I don't see Panini going away. And that's good in my opinion. I kind of like the fact that Panini's out there and they're doing their thing. And I think they could do a lot of great things in the future. They're, like I said, I think they're cleverly positioned. Topps is a mismanaged nightmare, okay? The company is poorly run. We saw that in their whole MUDs thing. I'll just say this, Fanatics, you'll be able to get them cheaper the more you let them squirm. So don't rush into it. Don't look desperate. Wait till they're like, wait a little bit. And again, I don't think this is good for the hobby if they get into it immediately. Because again, that gives them the license then basically to overprint. It's not like they're going to make a quality product. They're going to take advantage of what's going on. So not a good thing in my opinion if Topps gets in or if Fanatics gets in with it. Marketplace duel. Now this is an interesting one he talks about. And he says, oh, this is going to be great because Marketplace is going to be fighting it out and they're going to be giving discounts and cutting seller fees. I don't think this is good. In fact, one problem I think the hobby has right now, there's too many goddamn places to buy and sell. If I want to sell a card, do I send it on to StarStock? Do I send it to one of these vaulting services? Do I put it on an auction house? Do I put it on eBay? Do I use my slabs? Do I send it to CompC? And I'll say, what I realized, I'm kind of going back to the basics. I think eBay is going to eventually come out the leader in this because the thing I like about eBay is its control. It still protects me as I get to hold the card until I sell it. I get to decide who I sell to. I get more control, and the buyer has buyer protection. All these other marketplaces, in my opinion, still have challenges. Now, I do think CompC and I think StarStock will probably do well, but I'm going to make this bold prediction. I think all of them are going to make layoffs this year. You're going to see all of them make reductions in sales force because they built up for this huge demand and all stuff, and you're seeing that already start to decline. I would bet that their sales are declining across the board, and it's going to be hard for them to continue to hold the overhead they've invested in. And this will be one of the first industries, in my opinion, that does make those reductions. Will be the marketplaces, right? So look for that. Marketplace duel, not necessarily good, reduction in staff, and too many marketplaces. Lots of startups. Now, Jeff makes a comment about he gets contacted by people going startups. And here's my thought about this. If you're trying to go into a sports card startup, you're late. You're too late. The game is over, guys. The ship has sailed. You're like getting in Project 70 right now, thinking this is going to be the Ermsey Trout card from Project 2020. And it ain't. You're too late. There's a few things, and I will say that's not across the board. There are a few innovations that I still think haven't happened. A global registry could potentially, if positioned well, do well. But I'll put it this way. I wouldn't get in the card business right now. I wouldn't open a card store. I wouldn't become a breaker right now. I wouldn't go quit my daytime job and think I'm gonna make money flipping sports cards. It's a dangerous time to be in the sports card startup market. And I think your CLAS company is slaughtered. Like Alt, I guess it's $70 million. I can't wait to see where that money goes to waste because it's just not gonna work. Same thing with PWCC. I don't think they're gonna be a big player long-term. I might be wrong. Everybody would love to tell me I'm wrong. So record this January 2022. But I think eventually other marketplaces will take leadership position on that. Lots of startups, lots of shows and experiences is another one of the bold predictions. I do agree there will be, and I said this in one of my videos, I want to enjoy some experiences. I want to go to a Transcendent party. I want to go to a VIP Panini party, which is at the National. I'd like to go to some local shows. I think that's gonna be fun. But I'll tell you, the National in general, the attendance will be down, and it'll be significantly down, and you'll hear all these excuses about it. Well, it's AC or it's this, it's COVID or whatever. But the reality is that peaked last year, okay? And you're gonna see there's more businesses than there will be buyers and sellers. So I think the overall selling will be lower in some of these sales of these shows throughout the year. I think a lot of them will have big shows and be flashy like the Mint, but I don't think it'll be profitable if their goal is to make money off of transactions, I guess is my point. I don't think they are, but anyway, you should understand what I'm saying. I think transactions at these events will be less than people expect. Let me just close on this, guys. I'm not trying to rain on everybody's parade here, right? I'm trying to educate you and give you a different perspective and give you some insight on what I see and why I see it. Here's a few things to think about. There's no doubt that there's overprinting going on in the sports card market, okay? Zion Williamson has over 20,000 PSA 10s. That means there's probably an estimate, maybe 100 to 250, maybe 500,000 of those base cards that were made. That should be mind-blowing, okay? Just let that settle for a moment. And then remember all the different variations we have, all the different cards and all the stuff coming out, every product. Like back in Zion's year, there was a thing called Chronicles and they shoved all these products in it. This year, for every Chronicles product, there's a season. Like Flux has its own product this year, right? There's too many products. There's too many products. There's too many of the products, too many variations. What I will tell you is, if you love this hobby and you wanna invest in autos and relics and hobby boxes if you're going to put some stash some wax away. And even that I don't think is a good investment, but it's probably the most bang for your buck long term. But everything else is going to get declined. Base cards are going to continue to decline. Shiny cards are going to go down. Next thing you know, you have what I call the shiny card crash, where people are like, man, the silvers are really over minted and this is really ridiculous. And there's so many of these golds, and the gold wave now is, a billion of them. Other thing to think about. Two more important things. IRS taxes and the tax code are going to impact this hobby. They really are. I don't think we can see that. Most times we don't see the impact until later, but it's going to have an impact. And current events, right? We've got COVID going on in the world. We got global supply chain issues. We've got financial issues in many countries and inflation. These things are not going to not impact the hobby. They're going to continue to impact the hobby. And if you don't think so, you need to pay attention to that. And I even say this, in the United States, midterm elections, I think are going to have a major impact on the hobby as we get to the fall and going into the holiday season. Last little thought I'm just having, whatever happened to the Prism Funkos? Well, guys, if you made this far, leave a comment below, even leave the comment about what was I just supposed my last comment about the Prism Funkos. Someone put Prism Funkos, hashtag Prism Funkos in the comments below if you made it this far. But that's my thoughts, those are my comments, Jeff. I hope you appreciate my time. I always love watching your stuff. I will say, look, I've commented a lot about Jeff on this channel. He's definitely had a major influence. I think he's tried to keep, try to keep the ship going in the right direction. I've seen him take a lot of flack for the investment spin. And I'm going to actually say I'm probably team collector more than I've ever been. And I do take some shots now, team investor. And I'll make a video about that later on. I saw a great video by Silver Jackify talking about the investor influence that I'll talk about later. Hey guys, Happy New Year. Make it a great one. Be safe. Remember, we have more in common than we have apart. Boop, boop, boop.